this is my land, this is where I stand, this is my home.
Sculptor Aaron McConchie is worried about refugees, an influx of asylum seekers heading for his home, his community.
I hope that they come and enjoy the beaches and they enjoy the pubs and they enjoy the restaurants and get along and pitch in.
They're not war-ravaged Syrians, but millionaire refugees from the States.
If the owners come in via helicopter, which is very, very common, I mean, that's the transport of choice. They stay there, they've got private golf course, private restaurant, private bar.
Increasingly, the world's rich are choosing New Zealand as a safe bolt hole. Americans snapping up half the 46 house lots for sale in this elite development at Te Arai.
We hope that the new owners of these properties will integrate and embrace the community, but who's to say? We don't really know.
And with changes in the White House and the uncertainties there may be a whole lot more Americans on their way. Rich liberals like James Cameron looking for remote islands, mountain hideaways or deserted beaches. If the publicity's to be believed, this beauty is all in safe hands. We can rely on elite developers as guardians of the environment. The ones at Te Arai have a motto: tread lightly. They market themselves to rich Americans as sensitive and respectful, gifting a huge reserve to the public, reducing predators to help the bird life. Even the guy that designed the golf course sounds eco-friendly.
The important thing for the environment is to actually build courses that way, where that is, where you do have the environment in mind in everything that you're doing.
Some locals say that's not exactly how it's panning out on the ground.
As a New Zealander, it's unbelievable. I mean, that a private developer can come in and manipulate a natural landscape and do what they want for their own devices.
Not just on their own land, he says, but in public reserves.
It looked like a moonscape. It looked like open cast mining in a third world country.
Aaron says diggers have strayed onto public reserves behind the beach, extracting sand for fill for house sites.
I mean, you've got a developer that says they tread lightly. Well, we know there's been belly scrapers, there's bulldozers, there's diggers.
Developers say these are just initial works and the natural contour will be restored. But Aaron says in the meantime they've created a dangerous quicksand. Melanie and her horse Yo-Yo nearly got caught up in it behind the dunes.
We turned the horses onto slightly higher ground, which looked like firm sand, and immediately both horses sank deep into the sand.
Fortunately, they pulled themselves out. Melanie says Yo-Yo was lucky not to die.
It was a very close call and very scary.
Aaron says they've got council consent to mine 58,000 cubic metres of sand from the reserve. He's worried the end game might be to block off this access way to the beach.
It's a very real fear. I mean, the possibility that we lose this beach to private individuals is always a threat.
In a statement, the developers say all access to the beach is guaranteed and protected. Then, Aaron says, there's the golf course itself,
which puts tons and tons of fertiliser and pesticide and herbicide into the sand. I mean, this is sand, it's not soil. There's very little here to stop that from filtering through to the water.
Developers say the course, including the fertiliser use, is fully compliant. Aaron says there used to be a little weir across Te Arai stream and they've turned it into a small dam.
They've done a good job as far as the workmanship on it, but it's completely against the ecology of the area.
At the mouth of this stream are two of the most endangered birds in New Zealand. There are only 40 breeding pairs of fairy terns left in existence.
They only eat fish, only eat live fish from the moment the chicks hatch. All they eat are live fish that the parents bring them. And so they rely on the fishery, and this stream mouth is a wonderful fishery for them.
Although Doc and Forest and Bird don't share the Trust's concerns, Heather is really worried about fish, particularly whitebait, not getting past the weir to spawn, compromising the tern's food source.
And if they can't get enough food, well, for a start, the eggs won't develop, and secondly, there won't be enough to to keep the young going and to keep the nesting pair going.
Developers say all they've done is emergency repairs. The council's investigating. Local conservationists are also unnerved by the fact that the billionaire backer for the development has connections with the worst environmental disaster in US history. In June, Rick Kane's company had a 9.48% share in Anadarko, one of the oil exploration companies involved in the Deepwater Horizon spill that killed hundreds of thousands of seabirds. The developers said they're unsure how Richard Kane's investment holdings have any bearing on TRI.
It really bothers me that they think they can just come in and behave like that. It's pretty appalling, really.
Can we rely then on developers to be our environmental guardians?
It's really hard to prove that argument when you're damaging the local landscape for the benefit of a private development. They're not doing it for the greater good. They're doing it for 46 house lots.